in a confrontation of champions as they come toward the top of the stretch. And they're into the stretch, and here we go. Songbird set down. Beholder is alongside.
The 7-year wait is over. American Pharoah is finally the one. American Pharoah has won.
He's just perfect, and now he's just immortal.
Here's the winner, desperately close. Tisno wins it for America.
Hello, welcome to the Capital OTB Weekend Stakes Preview. Travers Weekend. Sully, Crotty, Mike, Callahan. Mike, how you doing?
Yeah, a little bit of a big weekend, right, coming up. So, yeah, just a little bit, but unbelievable that Travers is here. It seems like we were prepping for Saratoga because we're both part of the marketing team as well. But we get to Saratoga, and now we're already at Travers. It's unbelievable. And this is an absolutely phenomenal card. It's just like, the Belmont Stakes when they had that undercard for the Belmont Stakes Day. The Met Mile and all that. We have 6 grade ones we're going to go over. We didn't want to leave any of the stakes out, so we're going to go over all 7. We'll kind of rip through them as fast as we possibly can. But you have 6 grade ones. You also have the Boston Spa. Unbelievable horses everywhere. Obviously, the highlight is the Travers. And it looks to be a really good addition. It was a little disappointing with Game Winner being out and Maximum Security. Those were, big names in the 3-year-old division. But since then, now you have a deep field. I'm not sure you would have gotten 12 horses if both those horses had come. But now everybody's sort of taking a shot. We'll see how it goes, and we'll go over all the action here in a second.
Yeah, as Mike said, we're going to do all 7 stakes, which includes the Stakes Empire 6 and then the All Stakes Pick 5. 3 Pick 5s on the card Saturday afternoon. I know out west, Delmar's got a nice graded stakes. A couple, I think 2 graded stakes out at Delmar. 10-race card out there. The highlight, obviously, Saratoga this week. The first race we'll look at is race 5, the Forego. This is a grade 1 event, 7 furlongs on the main track for 3-year-olds and up. The 6th race is the Ballerina. The Ballerina is a grade 1 event, fillies and mares, 3 and up, 7 furlongs. The 7th race is the Jerkins, grade 1 event, 7 furlongs on the main track. This is for 3-year-olds. The 8th race is the Boston Spa. This is the grade 2 event. The rest are grade 1. $400,000 on the line for fillies and mares, 3 and up, a mile and a 16th on the Mellon Turf Course. The 9th race is the Personal Ensign, mile and an 1/8 on the main track, grade 1 event, $700,000 on the line for fillies and mares, 3 and up. The 10th race is the Sword Dancer. My personal favorite on the card is the Sword Dancer. Every year, a mile and a half on the turf course, grade 1 event, $850,000 on the line. This is for 4-year-olds and up. And then the 11th race, the highlight of the fantastic card on Saturday at Saratoga, the Travers Stakes, $1.25 million for 3-year-olds going a mile and a quarter.
Let's go back, though, and talk about that Forego. It's going to be race number 5 on Saturday. Kick things off for us as far as our stakes preview goes. Field of 6 in here. You're going to see your morning line favorite as the number 3, Matoli. Horse that had won 7 in a row going into that Vanderbilt last time up here at Saratoga. And is, again, in one of those situations, the graveyard of favorites. But we had talked about this race in the stakes preview going into that. The big question mark going into the race was Matoli had drawn the rail that day, and there was speed right to the outside with strike power. Ultimately ended up being that way because Matoli was in a wicked pace duel. They went 21-3 for that first quarter. Ultimately, Imperial Hint that day, and that was the weekend with Chancelot and Imperial Hint. We saw big performances that weekend. But Imperial Hint was able to engulf them around the far turn fairly easily. Matoli didn't put up a fight at all. Ended up finishing 3rd that day. I think a lot of people are going to say now draws outside of some speed in here. I mean, there's some speed just to the outside, but it looks like Promises Fulfilled, who drew the rail in here, looks to be the speediest of the bunch. Matoli can sit off that horse as a big shot in here.
Yeah, and going into that Vanderbilt, I said, I kind of thought if Matoli didn't get the lead, he wasn't going to win. I think it's the same thing here today. I'm taking a shot against Matoli. I think Killyback's captain's got no other choice but to go to the lead. Frenzy Fire can stalk a little bit, kind of disappointing the last 2 efforts there for the Jason Service runner. And Promise Fulfilled's got to go as well. So I don't think Matoli gets the lead again today. I think they go quick. I'm taking a shot here in the Forego. I'm going to go with Airstrike at 15-1.
Big shot taking it up.
I just think this horse is coming out of 3 solid races. Sistron, the horse that Airstrike came in 4th his last time out in the Bing Crosby, won the Kona Gold So I think that was a very good race. I think that was a better race than this race on paper. Won the Triple Bend last time out, 2 starts back, and then the Grade 3 event at Lone Star. Makita Rojo looked unbelievable that day. And this horse was wide the last 3 starts, and I thought put credible races up. I think they're going to go 22 flat or possibly 21 and change, like in the Vanderbilt. I think there's enough speed in here. I'm going to go with the closer in here. I think this horse has ran credible races the last couple. I'll try to cut down a early pick 5 ticket earlier on. But here I'm going to go deep. I'm going to use Matoli defensively, but I think Airstrike's coming out of a very big race for Phil D'Amato. Joel Rosario gets them out. The one is Promises Fulfilled, and Dale Roman said that at the Travers draw that this horse has been working lights out. And the last race, it was clearly Promises Fulfilled race to lose. The Met Mile, I didn't think Promises Fulfilled ran bad at all. He's like Matoli. He needs the lead or he's not going to win. So I think this is a horse that, if he repeats the Amsterdam, a 107 buyer, last time out a 108 buyer, even a 101 buyer, I think Promises Fulfilled could be a handful I'm going to use in the second spot. And then Firenze Fire, the 6 in here. I like Firenze Fire in the Met Mile. I like them in the Vanderbilt. I'm not giving up on him because he could be sitting the Ideal Trip from off the pace. I'm going to use defensively again in the pick 5. I think 7-2 is very fair for this horse. I need to see a little bit more from him. I had to see a little bit more in the Vanderbilt where I thought the race kind of set up for him. They were going quick enough for him to kind of make a move like he usually does, and he never did. So I'm going to use him in the third spot. Again, Matoli is the horse to beat. I don't think Matoli gets the lead this afternoon or on Saturday afternoon. I'll try to beat Matoli 2-1. 6-3 in the forego.
Yeah, I'll go 1-3-5 in here. I'll go with Promises Fulfilled in here, and we're both against Matoli in here, even though we'll probably end up using him in all the multis, just based on the fact that, listen, he's going to rebound off that effort. He set a really tough trip that day with a real speedster in Strike Power. They went toe to toe, ultimately got softened up, and Imperial Hint was able to go past. I didn't think the third place performance was that bad. My big question mark on Matoli, I'm not so sure he likes the Saratoga surface. Now, you take a look at Promises Fulfilled. He's 2 for 2. He won last year in a Grade 1 event in the Alan Jerkins. He also won the Amsterdam, and it was a career high 107 up to that point. Last time out, he ran 7 furlongs, but it's going to go on Saturday. He was able to take him wire to wire. He's going to have to hold off Matoli, who's going to be hounding him from the start, and then hold off some closures in here like Firenze Fire and Bon Razon. But I think for Promises Fulfilled sort of rounding into form right now. The workout sense has been very, very good. And I just think he's a horse that likes and prefers the Saratoga surface more than Matoli in here. So I'll try to upset Matoli. Matoli in the second spot for all the reasons. Obviously, he's going to be the big headliner in here and to see if he can rebound. A horse that had his streak of 7 broken last time out. And he did beat McKenzie and Thunderstone. McKenzie went on to win the Whitney. Thunderstone looks to be the favorite going into the Woodward. So there's no doubt that he's definitely the horse to beat in here. And then the 5, Bon Razon, 12-1 on the morning line. This horse ran 100 buyer last time out. There's only one horse who beat him in the last out running, and that was Promises Fulfilled. He actually has a higher buyer than Matoli's last race. I thought it was a solid effort. He likes to come from the way back. He's going to stretch up from 6 to 7. He's got a couple wins going the 7 furlong distance. And that workout on August 20th, since that last win, 59-3. I think this horse is rounding back into really good form. And if you're looking for a complete long shot, I know Sully likes the 2 in Airstrike. I like Bon Razon, the number 5 in here, as a big long shot in here. So I'll go 1-3-5. Your thoughts one more time?
2-1-6.
All right, we'll take a look at race number 6 on Saturday. It's going to be the Grade 1 Ballerina. You're going to see a field in here of 7. You're going to see the morning line favorite, and there's probably 2 horses that are going to attract a lot of attention as far as the betting windows goes, and that's the number 2, Come Dancing, who's 6-5 on the morning line, and also the number 4, Separation of Powers, who's 9-5 on the morning line. Come Dancing's coming off that second place performance, but that's not a bad second when you're talking Midnight Bijou, who we're going to touch upon a little bit later. That was a race where he sort of stumbled at the start, got to the lead. It was a speed favoring track that day, ended up getting caught by Midnight Bijou. Still finished second that day. If you take a look at the 2 and 3 back, though, that's where if you take a look at the buyers alone would absolutely bury this field. The 114 buyer is so much far ahead or further ahead than any of the others in here. You had to believe that Come Dancing was going to regress a little bit. Did so last time out, but since then, Has a little bit of freshening. Been freshened up. Saratoga workouts look strong. I think there's a lot of reasons to like Come Dancing in here.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to be Come Dancing. I thought it was so surprising. Come Dancing went off as the favorite over Midnight Bizu when the odds in Phipps on Belmont Stakes. Stayed down at Belmont. The horse was stretching out. This horse obviously does better shorter distances than a 1-turn mile or a 7 furlongs in this case. And the horse ran great at 7 furlongs, as you said, with the 114 Beyer 3 starts back. I think it's going to be very tough to beat this horse in this spot. I think this horse can handle fast paces. I think the cutback is perfect for Come Dancing. I'm not going to try to upset this horse. Special relativity for Robertino Diodoro. This horse is 4 for 4 at Saratoga. Looked great in the shine again. Awestruck went off, I think, even money. Did not really run a step that day. 2 back beat Carrera Cat and Talk Vuv to me. And you know how good Talk Vuv to me. And Talk Vuv to me was a short price and an optional claimer. So I think this is a horse coming in very good form for Robertino Diodoro. And talk about making the most of your starts. 20 starts. Has run in the money 10 times with 5 wins. David Cohen in town to ride for Diodoro. Obviously, those two. A lot of success this year, 23% in over 400 starts. I think 12-1 is more than fair. I'll try to split the 2 favorites in here. With Separation of Powers, who loves Saratoga as well, won the test last year, beating Mia Mischief, who's the number 5 in here. I think Separation of Powers is going to try to get to the lead like last time out. But if this horse gets into a speed duel with Come Dancing, I think Separation of Powers will have her hands full in here. But I'm not going to try to beat the favorite in here. It's going to be very, very hard to. I'm going to go 2, 1, and 4 in the Ballerina.
Yeah, I had a 2, 4, 1. I just flip-flopped the second and third choices comparative to you. But Come Dancing, I think is going to rebound very nicely in here. I think it's a good trip. Has speed and has more speed than you think in this spot, especially with a minute to stardom, who's probably going to go with Come Dancing early. 7 furlongs, I think Midnight Stardom gets a little softened up. Come Dancing, I think, is a horse that likes to go much further. In 6 to 5, I'm hoping that holds. I'm not sure if it's going to. I think it's probably 3 to 5, 4 to 5, but Come Dancing looks to be the one you want to back in this spot. In Sully and I's cases, anyway. We'll see how it goes at the betting windows. Separation of Powers in the second spot. I liked her last time in the Bed of Roses. I thought it was a good performance. Got a 100 Beyer, a horse that likes Saratoga. So if you're taking a look and you want to split hairs a little bit, Separation of Powers is 2 for 3, with the lone blemish being a third place finish. But a horse that won last year in the test, did so in fine fashion, getting a 93 Beyer. Performance last time out was very good, but again, it was over a speed favoring surface where the horse was able to dictate the fractions going 7 furlongs. I do think it's a nice outside trip, and it maybe, if Come Dancing isn't ready, off a little bit of a freshening, could definitely get the job done for Clarovich Stables and Chad Brown. And then the 1 special relativity. I think a lot of people are going to be attracted to the horse just based on the horse being 4 for 4 at Saratoga. I think is a logical choice in here to round out the tries, and hopefully, for a lot of people, probably split the exacta with the 2 horses that are going to take a lot of money in here. But Special Relativity and David Cohen have done some really nice things their last 2 performances up here at Saratoga, so I'll throw that horse in the third spot as well. You and I have the same 3 in this mix, so we'll see how it goes here in the 6. I have it 2, 4, 1. You have it?
I had the same 3. I went 2, 1, and 4.
All right, let's talk about race number 7, which is the Allen Jerkins, another Grade 1 event. Going to see a field of 9 in here, and there's one headliner, and that's Chancelot. I mean, I think there was a lot of buzz going into the race last time in the Amsterdam that he was just a horse that looked to have a lot of promise. Jorge Navarro had already gone on record of saying this was the best horse he had ever trained, and that's saying a lot because Jorge Navarro had one of my favorite horses of all time in Sharp Azteca, who finished second in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. That was a very good horse, so the fact that Chancelot was wowing Jorge Navarro, you had to believe was going to be really, really good. And last time he delivered with that 121 Beyer that we haven't seen in a very long time. He won that race by 12.5. He dusted that field very easily. He's a horse with tremendous speed, and he's able to carry it, which is something you're just not able to see very often. The big theory going into this is he's going to regress. How much is he going to regress? And the other horses still have to move forward. He's 1-2 on the morning line, and I think he's going to be really tough to beat.
He is going to be tough to beat in here, but it's not the stakes preview unless I try to beat him. So I went.
That's a good point.
I went 6, 1, 9, and 5. I like Mind Control in here. I think Mind Control is sitting on a monster race. I'm completely throwing out the race at Laurel Park. Lexington came into that race after a huge win on Preakness Day. And usually Mind Control does the better running on the front end, but with the amount of speed, I think he's going to have the same tactics where he's going to be sitting 2-3 lengths off the lead and tries to close into some pace here, and he's going to get the pace. So again, no shame losing the Lexingtonian. Again, that's a stakes winner as well. Ran well against Heichel in the Gotham. That's the race. I watched the replay again of that race. Went on 5-1. Heichel, as we know, had a lot of hype going into the Derby before an injury sidelined him there. Johnny V's been riding well the last couple of weeks up at Saratoga, so I'm going to use Mind Control. I think this horse gets hit a little bit. I don't think you're going to get 15-1, but definitely double digits for this one. And earlier in the career, Mind Control last summer won the hopeful at 10-1. Went on to face game winner in the Breeders' Cup, did no running at all, and then came back after the Breeders' Cup in the Jerome and really looked good. And then that went into the Gotham and so on. Again, I like Mind Control. 15-1 I think is more than generous. Chance Lot, as you said, this horse is a monster. I don't really know. If this horse gets to the lead, like the Amsterdam, it could be all over before it even starts. I think the rail may play a little bit of an issue. We'll have to see. The horse that break the maiden on the rail at 12-1, beating Bodie Express at Gulfstream. And then in the third spot, I was going back and forth with Roayton and Nitrous and Hog Creek Hustle. If Nitrous beats me, I'm going to be very upset because I like Nitrous in the Woody Stevens and used him in the Amsterdam last time out. So I'll use Nitrous, a little bit of a horse for course here. Has had wide trips in the last three and has ran huge numbers. I keep thinking that Oaklawn race where the horse just ran by everybody, ran huge in the Woody Stevens. So I'm going to use Nitrous in the third spot. Hot Creek Hustle, I think, is more than willing to win this race, but for me, I went 6-1, 5-9.
I went 1-6, 9-5, and it's interesting that a horse at a price in Mind Control, you and I both like 15-1, a horse that I think is going to stay at that, hopefully. But that performance last time out, like you said, and I'll touch upon it in a second, was very, very good. Chance Lot for all the reasons. I mean, there's no doubt that he's going to be the favorite in here. That 1-2 is going to stay down there. So the X factor is not always the X factor that the horse you have in the top three of your selections. For me, the X factor is Call Paul, the horse right outside of Chance Lot. He has to go. And he has to go in a big way to sort of occupy the attention of Chancelot to soften it up for the field. Now, unfortunately, if that's the case, it's going to sacrifice, essentially, Call Paul in this spot. So I don't think that Chancelot's going to be able to get away fairly easy like he was able to last time out. I think Call Paul is going to go with him, but I still think he's able to overcome that. And I just think he's much the best in here, and he'll probably win by about 5 or 6. We'll see how it goes, but I do think Chancelot looks to be a very logical choice in here. I'll use him on top. Mind Control, for the reason you talked about. Last time out against Lexingtonian, he was supposed to win that race. You go back and watch it. Go back and watch that Concern Stakes at Laurel. He was completely blocked. He got steadied a couple times. He finally found room late. He finished third beating a neck, but it was a much better third because he should have won that race if he had a better trip. The Bayer's not going to wow you the 82, but the workout sense has been very good, and he's a horse that's going to get a nice pace set up in here, and he's going to be a big price. I'm going to put a big play of 1-6 in here for an exact and kind of reverse it a little bit because you have the 6 on top. And maybe I can get him over the top of Chancelot in here. But for me, it's going to be 1-6 all day. I'll use the 9 in the third spot, Hog Creek Hustle, off that performance last time out. He's another one that's going to come off of a fresh inning. He beat Nitrous. He beat Baracco. Baracco came back to win. Nitrous finished second to Chancelot last time out. So there's a lot of reasons to like Hog Creek Hustle. He's another one that's going to get a nice pace set up in here as well. He's a stone cold closer that looks to be coming in fine fashion as well. So for me and the Alan Jerkins, I have it 1-6, 9, and 5. Your thoughts one more time?
6-1, 5-9.
All right, that's going to take us to our break. We come back, we'll take a look at 4 more on the big day at Travers. Stay tuned.
A day at the track isn't complete without a night at the Horseshoe. Great food, hot music, and cold drinks. So why go downtown when all the action's just across from the track? The Horseshoe Inn at the corner of Nelson and Gridley.
Welcome back to the Capital TV Stakes Preview for Travers Weekend. We are through half of our stakes preview. We're going to talk about races 8 through 11 now on Saturday up at the Spa. We're going to start out with the Boston Spa Grade 2 event, the lone non-Grade 1 event that we're going to talk about in here. Field of 9, it looks to be quite wide open. You're going to see the morning line favorite as the number 3 Secret Message coming off of that Diana, where the horse had to face Sister Charlie, Rushing Falls, and Homerique, who are probably 3 of the best in that division. Finished 4th, only beaten 5 lengths. He was actually steadied at the 3/16. If you go back, watch that race, probably could have been a little bit closer, another length or 2 closer to those horses. But it's really I thought was a pretty solid performance. I have her in the third spot in here. I think she's a beatable favorite, especially when people are going to see favorites like Chancelot, which we've already talked about, some short prices like Come Dancing and Separation of Powers. If people are looking for a price, I think this is one of the races they're going to look for it.
Yeah, and I have right on top of the sheet wide open. One of the Chad runners, 55, is dual enter for Friday at even money. I think it's a non-graded stake, so we'll have to see what they've decided to do. You would imagine 55 would be running in the Boston spot, but I went 8, 9, 4, and 3. If 55 runs Saturday, I'm not even going to use the 3. But I think Starship Jubilee's coming off one of the best performances I have seen at Woodbine in a long time. Losing to Holy Helena, look, you were there for the Queen's Plate, looked like a machine, and they were walking up front at 51 and 2. The horse that finished 4th came back to run 3rd, I think, the next time out. Before that race, lost a secret message who's in here, the number 3. So if you like the 3 at 3-1, I think Starship Jubilee is going to go up a little bit from the 7-2 price. They're not going to go 51 and 2. The effort last time out to almost win that race against Holy Helena, who just does not lose up in Canada, I thought was very, very good. I like Lascano on the turf as well. The earlier numbers are there for this horse. This horse has beaten 2 really nice horses in Chad's barn, including Inflexibility, who looked great this year, and New Money Honey, who I think won over $1 million on the turf for Chad. So in the restricted stakes at Gulfstream going a mile and 16th, the horse kind of had a different tactic. The horse went to the lead, finished 4th that day to Valedictorian, who went on to win the next time out as well. So Starship Jubilee, I think 7-2 is more than fair. I'm going to see if Jose Lascano can place this horse in a decent stalking role and run by all these horses, because an effort like that, running down or almost down Holy Helena, I think is good enough to win this at 7-2. The 9 in here is Mashka. I think this one takes a lot of money, again, because of that performance. Looked great at Saratoga earlier on, was a little bit wide and ran by everybody for Chad. And Chad's got he's loaded in here. It's Chad on the turf, so I think Mashka at 9-2 is more than fair. And then the 4, Significant Form, another horse in here that I think could take some money because of what we've seen 2 back and 4 back. The Lake Placid was a little bit of a juggle running against Rushing Fall last year, but ran well against Fire Key, who did win the next time out. So I think Significant Form at 6-1, who's going to get a jump on the other Chads in here from a stalking roll. It is very fair as well. But this is a really nice betting race in here. I went 8, 9, 4, and 5.
I went 9, 4, 3, and 8. I did have Starship Jubilee in my mix. I just really wasn't sure what to think of the last race as far as the pace dynamics go, because that's what you said. The horse was able to close into really moderate fractions, so maybe it's a horse that's rounding into really good form. Mashta, to me, the number 9 going out for Chad. This horse is quite interesting. Debuted first time in North America, and obviously this is a big angle for Chad. He gets these Europeans, and this horse did it the right way. They were going decent fractions, 48, 112, and 1 for the 6 furlongs, and this horse came closing strongly down the rail. And it was interesting because normally you think of closers just coming from the outside and passing everybody. This horse was able to sort of weave through traffic. I thought it was more clever than it looks on paper. And 9-2, I'm hoping he's going to hold. Red Ortiz Jr. is going to stick aboard. And if you take a look at that Euro back class, actually faced Homerique. And I think this is where a lot of people are going to be attracted to the horse. Finished 2nd, beaten 3/4 of a length to Homerique. Homerique came back to finish 3rd in the Diana to Sister Charlie, and the horse also won the Begay in the New York Stakes down at Belmont. So I think Mashta's a horse that has a ton of upside. Buyers-wise, absolutely has to improve, especially against the likes of some really nice horses like Starship Jubilee and Secret Message in here as well. But I think this horse has potential upside. I'll use him on top underneath the 4, Significant Form. The 4 in here, 6-1, it offers great value. I'm hoping that's going to hold. This horse had a interesting 2019. This horse has predominantly gone 2 turns the entire career, but the last 2 have been 7 furlongs and then sprinted 5.5 here at Saratoga. Finished 5th, but 5.5 to me is way too short for Significant Form. I think this horse wants to go back to the 2 turns, going to get it on Saturday, stretching out to the mile and 16th. The workout sense has been strong. And second off this type of layoff, Chad's 27%. So I think Significant Form is one that's going to have a tactical advantage over the 3, 8, and 9 in here, and it's going to get first jump on the speedsters in here. So I think significant form is one you want to use. And then the 3 and the third spot, Secret Message, for the reasons I talked about when I introed this. This is the morning line favorite, finished 4th last time, 2 Sister Charlie, Rushing Falls, and a homer rate. But you go back to that Nashua up at Woodbine, finished first that day, getting a 95 buyer. This horse seems to be a model of consistency buyers-wise of recent, and another logical player in here. I just think the price is going to be a little too short on this horse, and I think there's some other horses that will be interesting at prices, including the 9 and the 4. So for me in the Boston spot, I had it 9, 4, 3, and 8. Your thoughts one more time?
8, 9, 4, and 3.
All right, let's take a look at the personal ensign, and another one where it looks to be a match race, because Midnight Bijou and Elate are going to team up to race against each other for the 3rd time. They were able to do so in previous races, and Midnight Bijou is one that just seems to be getting better each and every race. He's going to draw the rail in here, 6-5 on the morning line. The slight morning line favorite over Elate, who's the 4, and 7-5 on the morning line. Both are coming off of victories. Midnight Bijou did it down at Monmouth in the Molly Pitcher. Really didn't get asked that day, but it was a strong effort against Coach Rocks, who got real gutsy for our friend Roddy Valeni and only finished second, only beat a length, which I thought was a very good and encouraging performance for Coach Rocks. But Midnight Bijou was able to just kind of glide up the rail, found room, and really had a lot left in the tank for this race coming into it. Elate coming off that 4.5 length victory, where the horse didn't really break well down at Delaware, and then just sort of made one big sweeping move and beat Blue Prize, who came back to win a stakes on Sunday up here at Saratoga. I think it's between both of them, but for me, there's also a horse that I think could split them in here in Wildcat. So that's the way I saw it. What'd you think?
Same 3, 4, 1, and 5. First Wildcat. I'm throwing out the Shuby. I think a second start here in a row can be a little bit more improved. Ran 3rd by 10 in the personal ensign last year behind Abel Tasman and the Late, who just kind of put on a show last year. I think Elate gets it done here today. The Del Cap was a very good performance, as you said, beating Blue Prize, who did win up here, 3 for 3 over the surface. Some still think that Elate should have won this race last year, that perhaps Abel Tasman may or may not have came out a little bit, but has a really good shot to win today. I think it's the job done, going a mile in the 8th. Midnight Bijou has looked great the last 3, won the Molly Pritchard pretty impressively down at Monmouth. Coach Rocks, as you said, ran a huge race for Roddy Valeni, RAP, and West Point. So I think Coach Rocks, why not take a shot after that last performance? But Midnight Bijou, the last 3 or 4, ever since going into the Steve Asmussen barn, has just been a different horse and really has been lights out. I'll try to beat in this spot. I think Elate does go off as the favorite because of the last few performances. But I'm with the same 3, 4, 1, and 5 in the personal ensign.
Yeah, at 4, 5, and 1, it's interesting, right? Midnight Bijou's beaten Elate twice in the career. Has the clear advantage, but we're both on Elate. And it's strictly based on the distance alone. Midnight Bijou has the advantage at a mile and a 16th. Once you start to get to the mile and an 1/8, mile and a quarter, which is Elate's world pretty much, that's where Elate starts to get the advantage. It's not that we don't think Midnight Bijou can go the mile and 1/8 and the mile and a quarter. It just seems that Elate may be better at those distances and just had the advantage. Midnight Bijou did have the advantage at a mile and a 16. So for me, Elate in this spot, Wildcat. Wildcat's going to be one that I think may be able to split these horses, and potentially, if they just decide to target each other and go all in around the far turn, Wildcat's a horse that finished 2nd last year to Monomoy Girl in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. I know she needed that race last time out up here at Saratoga in the Shuby. She didn't have the right type of setup in there. The pace was really slow. She had to make a huge middle move and ultimately flattened out to finish 2nd that day. But if 5-1 holds, she's one that I'm definitely going to want to use in my mix, and I'm going to include in all of my multi-race wagers, including the pick 3s, the pick 4s, etc. So I'm definitely a Wildcat fan in here. I'll use that horse in the 2nd spot. Then Midnight Bijou, a horse that I think everybody is going to be attracted to, coming in off the 5 wins in a row, looking for 6 in here, looks to be tactical in here, and will probably be sitting off of the 2 and the 6 who will potentially go in this spot. I think She's a Julie will be sitting, and Midnight Bijou probably is going to be covered up in this spot with the way the pace and the race sets up in here. So for me, 4, 5, and 1. Your thoughts one more time?
Same 3, 4, 1, and 5.
All right, we'll take a look at the Sword Dancer now. Race number 10 at Saratoga on Saturday. It's going to be a wide open race number 10 too. There's a field of 9 in here. The number 7, Annals of Time, is going to be your morning line favorite, slight morning line favorite, at 5-2. Horse coming off of an allowance optional claimer. Non-winners of three other than, in that optional claimer. Now steps up in here. And for me, that was a really, really good effort going the mile in 3:16. He still has that explosive kick because he was coming off of a huge layoff. Hadn't been seen since September of 2017. And the two races that this horse has raced have been unbelievable. I think the distance of a mile and a half is going to be a slight test for the horse going that far because he's never done it before. But the way that he has that explosive European kick, it seems, I think Annals of Time is a deserved favorite here. Although, I think if the price is too short, people are going to look elsewhere.
Yeah, definitely look elsewhere in one of these races, and it's always a fun race, the 3 turns on the turf. I went 6, 8, and 9. I'm not even using Annals of Time, but Annals of Time has been working lights out for Chad. I like your Primo. I thought the effort last time out was very good. A blanket finish where 6 of them were within a length of each other in the Bowling Green. Channel Cat, I think, is going to have to repeat that effort, a 102 buyer to win this spot. Glorious Empire did it last year, wire to wire in the Bowling Green, then wire to wire in the Sword Dancer. So Channel Cat's going to be looking to do that. I think it's a very dangerous horse, but I like your Primo. I thought the effort last time out here, the first start in North America, was very good, and much like Annals of Time, your Primo's been working out extremely well for Chad, and put up a really good turf workout. 4 furlongs on the turf, was first out of 52, and this is the horse that's going to be sitting right off the pace. I think a smaller field helps out your Primo, and again, I think 3.5 to 1 is a gift. The number 8 Channel Maker for Bill Mott did go off as the favorite in the Bowling Green, looked great in the Man of War 3 starts back, and the Manhattan, I didn't think ran bad at all behind 3 Chad horses. So Channel Maker, I think 3 to 1. Second choice, hopefully Annals of Time takes all the money. I think 3 to 1 is more than fair for Channel Maker. Sadler's Joy's another horse in here that I really don't know what to do. He shows up, runs big races, and then kind of throws in a clunker. I actually think the Bowling Green was one of his best performances in a while. 3 back in the Turf Classic at Belmont. I thought that, finished 3rd by 10th and then kind of threw in a clunker the next time out. But this was a horse that had nowhere to run halfway through that turn, was 11 lengths off the lead at one point and finished 6 by a length. So against probably the most loaded Bowling Green I've seen in a while. I think Sadler's Joy is coming back into form for Tom Albatrani, who did pick up a win this week. 9 to 2, Jose Lascano. I'll use Sadler's Joy in the 3rd spot. But in the Sword Dancer, I went 6, 8, and 9.
I went 6, 7, 9 in here, and it's interesting. Your Primo and Annals of Time are actually workout partners. So you can actually go and watch on XBTV. You can actually watch them work out because they have the same workouts the last couple. And really, it's really tough to split hairs on which one was actually better working out. They both seem to have enough energy. No one was being worked on to sort of keep up in here. I do like your Primo at the price because I do think a lot of attention's going to go to Annals of Time. I know Brian Nadeau, when I was watching the handicappers reports, said this horse just looks too good to lose in here, and he expects and is going to be all in on this horse going off at about 6 to 5 potentially. But there are questions and concern that this horse is stepping up again into the big stage in here, and the 1.5 miles is a big question mark for Annals of Time, although the performances thus far in 2019 have been very good. But your Primo was first time in North America in that Bowling Green, finished 2nd to Channel Cat. They did set pretty soft fractions in here, but I did like that performance. Needed that race coming off of a little bit of a layoff, so I think 2nd off the layoff should be much more fit in this spot, and I think your Primo is one you're going to want to use. Annals of Time I'll use in the 2nd spot. Those two are training partners, and I think it's between those two. And then Sadler's Joy. I'm right with you. I don't really know what to think of Sadler's Joy, but if you take a look at that race last time out, was coming off of a near 9-month layoff. Horse finished 6th, but it was beaten 6th, or was beaten a length and a quarter that day, so it was really like a blanket finish. This horse was blocked at about the 3/16 pole and actually could have finished much better than the 6th place performance shows on paper. Got that 101 buyer. And then if you go back to the last time this horse had raced, it was back in November. So that 9-month layoff needed a race as well. And you go back to the Breeders' Cup Turf, finished 3rd, beat the rest of the horses that day. If you remember that race, Enable and Magical were both clear, well clear of the field. And Sadler's Joy was best of the rest that day. But Enable and Magical have been dominating horses over in Europe. So I think Sadler's Joy is the little wise guy horse in here at 9 to 2. I know he doesn't like to win very often, but this does look to be one of those situations where if he gets the right setup, he's going to be one you want to use. He's going to be storming home late. So in the Sword Dancer for me, I did 6, 7, and 9. Your thoughts?
6, 8, and 9.
All right, let's take a look at the big one on Saturday. It is the Run Happy Travers. It's going to be 1.25 miles on the dirt for 3-year-olds. A lot of notable names, especially when you're talking about the Triple Crown. The morning line favorite is going to be Tacitus, 5-2 on the morning line. There's a lot of interesting comments on Tacitus, especially since he's a horse that's been classified as unlucky, but to some, he just seems to be his own worst enemy. So I think for as many people who are going to back him like me, I'm actually a big Tacitus fan. There are a lot of people who are going to be opposed to him, just saying he's a horse that just can't seem to stay out of his own way. So for me, Tacitus at 5-2, it kind of alludes to my first and top choice in here. But what were your thoughts when you take a look at the Travers field?
It's a lot more difficult on paper than, when you hear some of these names. I went 7, 1, 2, and 12. I'm not even going to use Tacitus. I am in pick 5.
But that kind of that actually sets up my reasoning, right? There's people who love Tacitus and can come up with the reasons why he didn't do well, and there's also people like you and a lot of other patrons who are just going to be like, you know what, I just can't trust him. I got to throw him out.
I'm going to use him in the pick 5, but when I bet a win bet in here, I'm going to use the 7. 7-1 for an exact. Callahan is coming in this race, lights out. Shug McGahee said so. I'll talk about Callahan first. The Dwyer was very good. He should not have. There's no way he was going to lose that race. They wanted to run in the Jim Dandy. He wasn't ready, so they waited for now. And Shug said he's been working better than ever. The August 4th work is fantastic for Callahan. So I think Callahan is coming in very good form in here. Owendale, I liked in the Preakness, ran a good race. The Ohio Derby, there was a big scratch in there. I can't remember off the top of my head who scratched out of there. But Owendale could not have lose. There's no way Owendale was going to lose that race. And I think if Owendale can run like the Preakness and the Lexington, Owendale's a horse for Brad Cox that could be very dangerous. Another nice work for this one down at Churchill Downs. Florent Giroux in town to ride. Again, I just keep thinking of Lexington being another twist of fate in here. I think would be a solid third choice. I like Owendale. I've always been on Owendale's kind of bandwagon here. But Mucho Gusto, my top choice. I think if Mucho Gusto runs a race like the Haskell, where he runs his eyeballs out, and it's not going to be 110 degrees humidity, I think he wins this race, because maximum security would be what in here? 2-1, you would think, go off even money probably. He ran a huge race in the Haskell, 100 buyer, went toe-to-toe with maximum security. Everyone's high on maximum security. 6-1, I think, is very, very fair. I don't think Mucho Gusto needs the lead. Danny Gargan already said, listen, if we're going to take the lead from the outside stall. So Tax is going to go. Everfast is going to go, most likely. And then to the inside, I think Owendale will be sitting an ideal trip as well. So I think Mucho Gusto and Owendale are going to be sitting 4th, 5th, maybe 6th by a couple lengths and get the ideal trip on Tacitus in here. So for me, I'm going to use 7, 1, 2, and 12. I like Tacitus in the Derby, but if this is his way of kind of getting back on me for not using him in the Travers and winning, so be it. He'll be a shorter price. I'm going to use defensively, but I think the Haskell performance was very good for Mucho Gusto.
I think from betting aspect, I think this is like everybody's last sort of gasp with Tacitus. I think they're like, this is the last time I'm going to bet him. He better come through for me type deal, because you take a look at his last couple, right? The Kentucky Derby, he was bounced around a little bit, but he wasn't one of those horses that was clearly affected by maximum security that day. He finished 4th, was elevated to 3rd because of the DQ. Then he finished 2nd in the Belmont, where he was extremely wide that day. I still kind of don't understand why he was so wide. I know he was targeting War Will, but he just lost so much ground comparative to Sir Winston. He probably ran another almost quarter of a mile. I know that's an exaggeration, but it just seemed that way when he was 5, 6 wide around each turn, especially going the distance of 1.5 miles. I know he has the pedigree to run all day, but you just don't want that situation. And then in the Jim Dandy, he had and you could tell actually even going into that race, he just didn't seem to be very focused. Even when he was warming up, he was just kind of looking around. He was a little confused, and I'm not sure what he was confused about, but he just wasn't ready to race. And then when the gates opened, he stumbled. He lost about 4 lengths right off the bat. Ended up coming flying up the rail, and it was a dead rail. He finished 2nd, beaten 3/4 of a length. Now I think the biggest thing is the blinkers are going to go on. They've been training them with blinkers. It's going to focus them up. They did the same thing to Game Winner, who I was hoping was going to come in here, but ultimately had a virus and had to bypass the Travers. Blinkers really focus up for these type of horses, especially the youngsters who are still trying to find it out mentally. Physically, Tacitus is probably the best horse physically as far as pedigree goes and growth, and he's a big horse. He can run 12s all day, but mentally he's still kind of plugging along. So I'm hoping the blinkers on is going to be the move that gets Tacitus to the winner circle on Saturday. In my second spot, Endorsed, the 11. If you're looking for a long shot, take a look at Endorsed. He's a horse that had some promise at 2 years old, was coming off of a long layoff, hadn't been seen since the Champagne, and then reappeared down at Belmont in June and went six furlongs and went quick. And he just started running when he went 108-3. They stretched him out in the Curlin for restricted 3-year-olds. Last time out, he lost the highest honors. That was his first try at 2 turns. He went to 1.1 miles distance over a muddy surface, and I thought it was a good performance. Now he gets Joel Rosario aboard, and he's going to be a big price at 15-1 for Kieran McLaughlin. He's out of Medaglia d'Oro. He's also out of a dam that likes to go this far. And I think the distance hits Endorsed square in the eyes for Godolphin, and he's one you're going to want to use at 15-1 on the morning line. And then the 2 in the third spot, Code of Honor. Like you said, Shug's already talked about this horse. He's coming off that win in the Dwyer. His workouts since have been very, very strong. I know he has a sort of a short racing pattern the last couple months, but again, he's one that's been sitting on the sidelines, just patiently waiting for these type of spots. Johnny V's been aboard for all but one start, and he knows this horse really well. He's going to sit a nice setup in here. And again, he finished third and moved up as well in the Kentucky Derby. He finished second. So for me, Code of Honor in the third spot, then Mucho Gusto in the fourth spot. I don't really know what to do with Mucho Gusto. I know he's a really talented horse who's coming off that second place performance. But his workout sense said, Bob said, you know what, we got to take our shot because he looks to be ready to go. It looks like Bob's not going to be here for the Travers, which for me kind of questions whether he really has a shot to win or not. Maybe he hits the board, but he's not able to win in this type of spot. But just based on his performances thus far, he's one you're going to want to use in the mix, and he's going to take a lot of play at 6-1. So for me, in the Travers, I have it 6, 11, 2, and 7.
Yeah, I went 7, 1, 2, and 12.
All right, that's our look at this upcoming weekend with Travers 2019 approaching very quickly as we're taping this on Thursday. Any more thoughts before we wrap it up?
I mean, if you're not excited for this weekend, I can't really help you. It's obviously the highlight of our meet. I think it's probably, the Belmont Day is very good, but outside the Breeders' Cup and Belmont Stakes Day, I think this is the best undercard. Every year in and year out, the competition just comes in, and it's very, very good. So, and it's doing that again this year. Last year's undercard was great. This year's undercard is fantastic as well. So outside the Breeders' Cup, obviously, and I think the Belmont card every year is stacked. I think this is the best undercard.
Oh, it's phenomenal. The card absolutely is terrific, and Naira's done a great job putting it together. There's a lot of headlining names. See if you're going to have some terrific performances. Just some things of note. Looks like the weather's going to be picture perfect on Saturday. Again, when we're talking this summer, it just seems like it rains every day at 5 o'clock, and it's just a torrential downpour. So I'm glad to hear that the weather looks to be good, knock on wood, on Saturday. And then also first post, 11:35, something that we want to mention to our patrons. 11:35 first post. It's going to be a long day, but it's going to be a fun day. There looks to be 13 races on the card. The Travers is going to go off approximately at 5:44. So again, plan accordingly. Wager with us here at Capital OTB through your account. We have easy bets. We have branches. Just go to your local location and place your wagers. There's going to be advanced wagering as well on the Travers cars. So again, a lot going on. Good luck. Hopefully we gave you some good tips. And until we see you again, take care.